Hello, American History 2 students. This is Mr. Bell coming at you today with a reading activity watch-along. Today we're going to focus on the Social Security reading activity, and this should help you tremendously with this assignment that you need to complete by this coming Monday. Now, today is day 139 of 180. If we were actually in school, it is COVID-19 shutdown day number 14, and today is Thursday, April 2nd, 2020. Before we get into the reading activity, we're going to do a little warm-up review. I should clarify with the warm-ups, you don't have to write these down. You're not turning them in. This is just simply for review and to give us some structure for the lesson, and this is going to review some of the things that led toward the Great Depression. So this is stuff from 4.2. What was Black Tuesday? That was the day the stock market crashed because of things like speculation and buying on the margin. It triggered the official start of what became known as the Great Depression, where unemployment soared and so did homelessness and starvation. What was Herbert Hoover's policy toward the Great Depression? Rugged individualism. Pray, work hard, be good. This will work itself out. Of course, it wasn't going to do that just by praying and being good. What was the bonus army? These were World War I veterans who were denied their retirement because Herbert Hoover didn't have enough tax money coming into the federal government because so many people were unemployed due to the Great Depression. What were the 3 R's of Franklin D. Roosevelt, FDR's New Deal? Relief, recovery, reform. So, to review, the first one is the day the stock market crashed and started the Great Depression. The second one was rugged individualism. The third one is World War I veterans who were denied their retirement by Hoover. And the third one is relief, recovery, and reform. So let's go ahead and get into our second reading activity for this week, which is on Social Security. Before we do that, though, let's talk a little bit about Social Security, because technically this is in, if you'll look at these notes, which are on Canvas, 4.3. So I'm skipping ahead a little bit here for purposes of this reading activity. Social Security is money for retirement. So the idea for Social Security came from Franklin Roosevelt as part of the New Deal. Is that each month Americans would have money taken out of their paycheck, and that money would then be paid back to them when they retire, so they can retire, enjoy their elderly age, things like grandkids, and not have to worry about money. And Social Security would give them a check each month to supplement whatever retirement, to complement, I should say, what other retirement money they had coming in from wherever they retired from. The reason this was a program was because, and probably the most famous New Deal program because it has sustained despite problems with it, and the reason for it was FDR wanted to make sure the elderly who died at a rapid rate during the Great Depression were protected if anything like this ever occurred again. And nothing really occurred like the Great Depression until 2008. You had the Great Recession. Normally I would say we would get there, but who knows how far we'll get because this class has kind of been shortened because of the shutdown. Now, Social Security, as we'll talk about later, ran into a bit of a problem with the baby boomer generation. This was a spike in population after World War II, and too many people are retiring now who are overloading the Social Security system. So eventually there's going to have to be some type of overhaul of Social Security, revamping of it if we want it sustained for future generations. But I don't want to dive too much into that because we're going to do baby boomers and stuff like that post-World War II. And this is focusing on what Social Security is and people's opinions on it. So it's money for retirement. And now, it's not executed the way it was back then now. But the plan was they take money out of your paycheck each month. That money will be used for you for retirement. So without further ado, let's get into this reading activity. I'm going to read through these in this watch along like I did with the previous one. Maybe you're kind of getting the hang of how this works now. And I will probably give you some abbreviated questions toward the end. So it does pay off to watch, or at the very least watch the tail end of these videos. So I have a paper copy here, and you guys have the digital copy, and these are also available in paper copy in the office. I also wanted to say, so I go in Friday to pick up any work that's turned in, and to put work for the next week there, but your guys' work isn't due till Monday because that is when you turn in the previous week's work. So let's say you turn something in on Monday, this coming Monday, and you don't see a grade for it in Power School because I haven't picked it up, and I won't pick it up until that Friday, but of course that will not be a 0. I'm not giving any punitive grades during this time, negative grades. So let's get into this. So we're looking at 3 different views on Social Security. Franklin Roosevelt, of course, who created it. The NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, who fight for civil rights. We discussed them when we talked about Booker T and W.E.B. And then a letter that was sent to Eleanor Roosevelt, which is the wife of Franklin Roosevelt, who was very active politically, and she was actually an ambassador to the United Nations for Franklin Roosevelt. It's really the first time that a first lady is active politically. Depending on the first lady, they're more active or not. Hillary Clinton, the most active first lady, and Eleanor Roosevelt's right up there with them. Some are less active or just focus on a specific thing, like Michelle Obama with the Let's Move, the Eating Healthy campaign, or Melania Trump with bullying and things of that nature. So here is a speech that Roosevelt gave on Social Security, August 14th, 1935. Some stuff you may see here. If you don't know these words, pension, that's retirement money. A regular payment to someone in retirement from a fund they or their employer has contributed to throughout their working life. Cornerstone, a stone that lies as a foundation of a building. So when you say cornerstone in this context, I say a cornerstone of the New England Patriots is Bill Belichick. A cornerstone of American government is the judicial branch, something that holds up that institution. So let's get started. Today, a long-held hope is largely fulfilled. The civilization of the past 100 years, with its startling industrial changes, has made life insecure. Young people have come to wonder what would happen to them in old age. The man with the job has wondered how long would that job last. This Social Security measure gives some protection to 30 million of our citizens who will receive direct benefits through unemployment compensation, through old age pensions, retirement money, and through increased services for the protection of children and the prevention of ill health. If you didn't save enough money pre-Social Security for your retirement, then you had to basically work till you die. Now, people who made decent money didn't have that hard of a time saving money for their retirement. So therefore, the wealthier people did retire, and they did it in a very comfortable fashion. It was the people who were living paycheck to paycheck who it took every dime they had to make it week to week and month to month and year to year that were never able to retire. This is meant to solve that problem. We can never insure 100% of the population against 100% of the ups and downs of life. But we have tried to pass a law which will give some protection to the average citizen and to his family against the loss of job and against poverty-ridden old age. So here FDR is putting in this speech that we're not trying to protect everybody from 100% of things that life throws at them. And this is very intentional because many people called FDR a socialist, which had a very negative connotation back then, even though it still does to this day. Meaning that a socialist, of course, the government runs every aspect of industry and controls most aspects of people's lives, but of course there's still private property, free religion, things of that nature. It's called Social Security because it's derived from socialism, but he's careful to point out that this isn't socialism like you're seeing in Europe at this time that is leading to communism. This law, too, represents a cornerstone in a structure intended to lessen the force of a possible future depressions, which it did in 2008. It will act as a protection to future administrations against the necessity of going deeply into debt to help the needy. It is, in short, a law that will take care of human needs at the same time provide the U.S. sound economic structure. Here's what FDR was great at. Coming up with a plan that was sound, but explaining and communicating that plan to the American people in a way they could understand it. But more than that, he always was able to relay how his actions were going to make people's lives better. And it was one of the big reasons he was elected 4 times before the 22nd Amendment set 2 term limits. So what do I want you to answer here? For document A, the FDR, I would like you to answer question 1. Who gave this speech and when? If you look here, and I'm not going to give you all these answers, but I will help you out a little. Sorry. It's FDR, August 14th, 1935. Who was the intended audience? It was the American people. He was trying to sell them on how Social Security was going to be better for their lives, make their lives better in the long run. How might that influence the content and tone of the speech? He's selling here. He's trying to make it positive and uplifting to get people, the public, on board with it.